Good morning, sir. May I
Good
come in?
morning. Are you vaccinated?
Yes, I am vaccinated, sir.
No symptoms of COVID? I
No,
believe?
sir. No, sir.
You may remove your mask. Please introduce yourself to the board, highlighting your experience.
Sir, I am Lieutenant Colonel Amol. I am a serving officer of Indian Army. I joined the Indian Military Academy in 2001 and passed out as a lieutenant. I have got service experience of serving in almost every terrain where the Indian Army serves. That includes J&K for about 3 years, about 3 years in Northeast, sir, and about 8 years along the Indo-Pakistan border in Punjab and Rajasthan sector. I also got the exposure of serving as a part of United Nations Peacekeeping Army in Democratic Republic of Congo.
Okay. Should I call you Amol?
Yes, sir, you can call me Amol.
Okay. Amol, you are such a decorated officer. You would like to share your stories of valor or gallantry, just one or two incidents.
So I will tell regarding how I got injured, sir. I got injured in 2014 when I was posted in Congo, sir. And on that night, I think 13th or 14th of December 2014, Congo is known for genocide, and a lot of fight takes place between the troops of the Rwandan army and the Ugandan army, sir. So on that specific day, there was fighting going on the border because my post was bang located on the border, and there were 3 insurgents who had actually killed a woman in a specific area, and they were running away. And we were following them, and after following them for some distance, we were able to eliminate one amongst them, and the second person was shot, and the third person went in the village, sir. So we were told to stop the operation, but the second person, who was not completely eliminated, actually he was alive, and when we came back, he just got up and stabbed me in my leg, sir, and my ankle came out after that, sir.
Okay. Anyway, I mean, now that you are aspiring to be a part of the civil services, there is a world of difference between the life of a civilian and that of an army officer. How are you going to adjust to the life of a civilian officer, where there is a lack of discipline, which is steeped in corruption, where red tapeism is there, people have lost touch with the people, I mean the IAS officers have lost touch with the people at the grassroots level, they have become armchair bureaucrats. How, with this so much of experience in army life, are you going to adjust to this?
Sir, 20 years back I was a civilian, sir. I was able to adjust very well to the army life. I think now after 20 years, whatever good qualities I have learned in army, I think they should stand me through whatever tenure I am left with the civil services, sir.
You are confident of adapting yourself to the,
yes,
or you will change the civilian lifestyle to that of army lifestyle?
No, sir, I'll try to be a part of the system.
Part of it. Of late, we have been hearing a lot about Atmanirbhar Bharat, particularly with respect to Ministry of Defense, vocal for local. So what exactly the Department of Defense has been doing for the last 5 years to achieve this concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat?
Sir, the Department of Defense actually looking as far as indigenization is concerned, sir. There are almost 108 items which have been placed onto the negative list. That means those items can only be produced in the country under the Make in India program. They cannot be imported from any other country, sir.
Okay.
Majorly, we have also gone for renting of some major platforms under which we don't buy them and save currency and use them for some time. When we rent them, once we found that they are reliable and can be used, only then we keep it with them, sir. This is one of the changes which has come. Also, there is a lot of private and public sector interaction which is happening for production of goods and services is concerned. That includes like Larsen & Toubro and Mahindra preparing military hardware, sir. So I think there is a lot of public partner companionship which has come into the system, sir.
These are baby steps which the country has been
yes,
taking.
Sir.
But don't you think that our reliance on countries like Russia and others for the purpose of import of defense artilleries will continue to be there? Even if we call it Atmanirbhar, vocal for local, it becomes more of a rhetoric than really ground economic, making a ground economic impact.
So since our independence, we have generally relied on equipment coming from Russia. Even about 60% of our equipment today comes from Russia, sir. But at least as of now, we have started a process by which some equipment can be produced. Also, second aspect to it is that we have reduced our dependence on Russia as far as the hardware provider is concerned. We have started looking towards Israel, France, where we got Rafales from, and also to the US, sir. So we are diversifying it. It is not that we are completely reliant on Russia.
Okay, thank you.
Amol, you have lived in Congo for 3 years, I hope.
So I stayed about 1.5 years. Sir.
1.5 years. What kind of relationship, economic relationship particularly, we maintain with Congo?
So we have got limited economic relationship with Congo, but Congo is one of the major sources as far as cobalt is concerned. This cobalt is used in manufacture of lithium-ion batteries, sir. I think a big quantity of that cobalt also has started coming to India. Otherwise, we don't have any major defense or maybe as far as major economic relationship with Congo.
What are the potentials of economic relations between Congo and India?
Sir, Congo holds about 60% of reserves of cobalt, sir. Also, Congo is a very big source of diamond, and we are also one of the major country as far as diamond processing is concerned. I think in future, if trade grows between India and Congo, we have got good scope. Also, it will help our policy of graduating from fossil fuels to the electric vehicles, sir, by helping us in making.
What is the state of agriculture in Congo?
So agriculture still is very primitive. There is not much of fertilizers are used, and agriculture is seen in the concept of daily sustenance. Most of the people cultivate only for requirement of their food. Otherwise, there is not much of trade or not much of export which takes place from Congo as far as agriculture is concerned.
Large number of Indians migrated to African countries in the 19th century, and we have built goodwill of India also, this diaspora community particularly. You are a student of geography. I think you have been studying all these things. What are the potentials to transform that goodwill into a very vibrant economic relationship, not only with Congo, but most of the African countries? And if you could suggest a regional preference order, which way we should focus?
So we had Indian people originally going during the British time as laborers over there to work in different economic activities like farming and also for cultivation of tobacco and sometimes even for mining, sir. And even in countries like Uganda and Rwanda, where I have been to, I found a huge quantity of Indian population over there, sir. Now, whenever in future, if we plan to have economic or social relationship on a larger scale with these countries, I think this diaspora will play a very important role to it, sir.
Are we doing anything? Government of India had announced in 2004 a program which is called Focus Africa program. What is the development of this program?
So this program actually looks into improving diplomatic relationship with many countries, and that is just an initial program. It is still graduating. We are also trying to work as to what China has done. China has been one of the biggest investors in most of the African country, and it has also become a big investor as far as the extension of the road initiative is concerned, the Belt and Road Initiative is concerned, sir. And we are also trying to do something what the Chinese have worked on too, and by that we will be getting a lot of economic resources and also goodwill into the African continent, sir.
Oh, what is the strategic importance of Seychelles for India?
Seychelles, sir?
Seychelles.
So Seychelles is one of the major island countries into Indian Ocean, and Seychelles, by virtue of its location, can be a good strategic post where the naval activities can be coordinated, sir. With increasing domination of China and we going out for multiple exercises into the Indian Ocean, the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, like we do the Malabar exercise with the American, the Japanese and the Australians. I think this sort of ports can be used to dominate straits like the Malacca Strait and also preserve our strategic importance into Indian Ocean is concerned.
You have worked in defense. I think you could have been discussing and looking at this phenomenon. Indian Ocean is dominated by Europeans for last almost 3 centuries. And Europeans and Americans are still holding key positions in Indian Ocean. The most important one is Diego Garcia Archipelago. Do you think it is safe for Indian interest that Indian Ocean is dominated by the West?
So this is a colonial legacy, and these islands like the Independence Islands, which are being held by the French, and Diego Garcia, which has been held by the US, it is considered as a part of America. And I think instead of catering or maybe instead of countering their views of having these islands into Indian Ocean, we should try and develop good relationship with them, so that as far as what the logistics agreement we have signed with the Americans, we get a deep reach if our ships get access to southern islands like Diego Garcia and the Independent Islands, sir. I think we should see it in a positive way to improve our relationship.
But it will only legitimize their presence in the Indian Ocean.
Sir. I think that should be okay, sir. Means it is their part of country. I don't think we should counter it unnecessarily.
Okay, thank you.
Amol, you like to interpret map,
Yes, sir.
right? Why international date line is tilted 7.5 degree nearby to the Aleutian Island?
Sir, I think it is due to the alignment of the land and sea. They wanted it to go through the sea so that it could be maintained properly, so that any person crossing from one place to another, there is no confusion as to what the location is.
Okay. And why it is also tilted 7.5 degree nearby to the Fiji? Same logic you will repeat.
Must be, maybe, sir, like differentiation between sea and land at that place, sir.
Okay. You're fine. Name some landlocked country in Africa.
Sudan, Rwanda, Uganda.
Can you tell me something about the importance of the cantonment board?
So cantonment board actually has two types of people staying inside them. One are the civilians who are staying into the cantonment board, also defense services personnel. A bureaucrat who is appointed over there is called the chief executive officer, who is from the Indian Defence Research Service. There is also military commander, who is generally the deputy GOC, general officer commanding of that specific military cantonment. Now the role of cantonment board is to work into coordination with the defense services for the welfare of the civilians who are staying inside the cantonment.
What is the difference between municipal corporation and cantonment board? I am talking about the governance or administration part.
Sir, there are elections which are conducted in the cantonment board, sir. But only difference between the municipal corporation and between the cantonment board, I think, is the budgeting. Where the budgeting of the cantonment board comes from the defense ministry, but as far as the municipality is concerned, it comes from different sources like the central government and the state government.
Any challenges as per your perception regarding cantonment board?
There are challenges into the state of Telangana, sir, which we recently saw in news, that there are some direct routes which have been closed by army people under the reason of it providing inbuilt security, and that has been protested by some of the civilians, sir.
Okay. Can you tell me something about the Mackinder theory?
I'll have to read about it.
Okay. Have you heard about the Weber's model of industrial location?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
So it talks about the concentration of industry at a pole and then diversification of industry as one goes away from the central pole, sir.
Do you believe that it is relevant nowadays?
No, sir. I don't believe classically it is relevant today, sir. Because we have got major cities coming up and we have got small satellite cities which are going around the major poles, sir. So I think it won't be practical in today's scenario.
Okay. It is said that transparency and accountability are more important in administration. What is your vision regarding transparency, making more transparent in administration? Or?
Sir, transparency and accountability directly links to the integrity of an individual, sir. And I think that is the bedrock as far as the personality of any bureaucrat is concerned, sir. And any bureaucrat who is having or maintaining very high standards of transparency, I think he should be a good administrator also, and he should also be doing due justice to the people whom he is responsible for.
Tell me your 3 attributes which are important for administration.
Sir, I have got quality to work with a team, that I have been into very good teamwork in whatever experience I got in army, sir. High standards of integrity, sir, and hard work.
Integrity, do you define the term integrity in detail?
Sir, integrity is something, having your personal opinion, which is, I can't define it classically, sir. If you permit, I will just give a description as to what I mean about
Please,
it.
please go ahead.
Integrity is something, a quality of a person, where he stands by the rules, which are rules of the organization and definitions which he has made for himself, and which are generally in line with what the socially acceptable norms are.
Okay. Amol, what are the possible threats or expected threats regarding the national security of India nowadays?
National security.
Ji.
So I see this matter in dual roles, sir. One is internal security and one is external security. As far as internal security is concerned, we have got challenges as far as the Naxal issue is concerned. Also, I believe there is major challenge which is coming is religious differences, what we have got between some of the religions, sir. As far as external threat is concerned, I think we are surrounded by neighbors who have always been a challenge to us. That includes the Chinese from the north and the Pakistanis from the west. Also, there are economic challenges, sir. Like we see that we have to counter economically very strong country like China, sir, which may further lead to different aspects of cybercrime, or maybe be use of that cybercrime activity to have some work done which may not be in consonant with what our requirements are. I think issues like migration, what we have got in case of Rohingyas, and also the Tamil migration which is happening from Sri Lanka. I think these are some of the...
Why we are proceeding for the theatre command nowadays?
So theatre command is with the objective of having synergy between all the three streams of the Indian armed forces, that is the Army, Navy and Air Force. Now once a theatre command comes into, the commander of a theatre will get dedicated resources as far as the Navy and the Air Force and the Army is concerned, sir. And due to that, employability and operational capability of that specific theatre will go high, sir. As of now, there are differences. For example, if someone wants to have air support at a specific area, the procedures are too lengthy and it is too bulky. So he may not be able to get air support onto the location he wants, sir. But all these sort of activities will be eliminated when the theatre command comes in.
Good.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
If I ask you, the way Army is presented to us via media, be it print media, be it television or the movies, are you happy with the way Army is usually projected, or do you see some lag in between the reality and the way it's portrayed?
As far as what my experience in media is concerned, Army has always been treated with a lot of respect, ma'am. Okay. And with my 20 years of experience in Army, I can vouch that our Army is a very professional Army and it is a very good organization.
Yeah, but I'm asking, usually sometimes allegations are there like forces misuse the resources they have and buddy system is there and that kind of stories are there. So how would you, what are your views? Like,
ma'am, this sort of things are one-odd aberrations which we observe. Army has got its inbuilt system where this sort of things are corrected and rectified over a period of time. But I don't think one-odd aberration should indicate that complete organization is at fault, ma'am.
No. I'm just asking, are you happy with the way Army is being portrayed and projected to Indian population?
Yes, ma'am. Whatever generally I see on the media, I think I'm okay with it.
How many people are under you? Like how many personnel usually?
Almost 800 to if I'm doing secondary command.
Okay. So what kind of attitudes or attitudinal change or norms do you induct in people who just join in Army, so that they adjust to the environment? What kind, is there any training about attitudinal
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of?
What we do is that basically the requirement of a youngster, a young Sipahi who joins Army, is to be physically fit. And we try and correlate his physical fitness to his mental fitness. And we also try and get him into yoga and meditation. So he is into a lot of balance in his life. Also, the role of Army when he joins the unit is such that we have got regular parade in Army, like the Mandir parade, which not many organizations have, where troops come together and they sit, and troops of all religion come together. And in Army we call it the Sarva Dharma Sthal. It is a unique idea where all types of all religious people come and sit together and pray for their individual God. And this is something which gets into the concept of camaraderie into them and also nationalism.
Okay. So what kind of, if 3 attributes or 3 attitudes you look in a Sipahi under you, what would that be?
Ma'am, physical fitness, nationalism, and high standards of integrity.
Okay. If I ask you, should Army be made arena of gender empowerment, women empowerment, or I'm asking this question in the context of women not being allowed for long term they have been recently only allowed, and the government lawyers when they were defending the case in Supreme Court was said ki men in Army are not ready for women commanders yet. So what are your views?
Ma'am, women have been in Army for last about, if I'm not wrong, 30 years.
But not in combat.
Yeah, this combat, we are, this is the first time that women have, like they will be joining the National Defence Academy, they will be coming into combat, ma'am. What happens with our troops are from rural areas, correct? And at that time, it is not that they disrespect the women, but they, in rather sense, respect women a lot, and they always see a woman as a mother, a sister, who needs support and to be protected. This is what the context they see. It is not they are trying to demean a woman, but over a period of time, this thought process of men is also changing, and as people are growing, as economic activity is going, people are coming out of that thought process, and we are in consonant with this thought process change and also induction of Army man. So it is not that.
But the Supreme Court has had to intervene And do you think it was sort of not required, an army had to take its own discourse on how it wants to go, as national security is such an important issue and it should not be made arena for women empowerment? What do you think that intervention of Supreme Court was unnecessary?
Ma'am, as of now, I think, army actually required some authority to, take this decision. I think Supreme Court's decision one way has helped army to take a very firm decision now that women will be inducted into the armed forces, into fighting arms. I think that was a good decision which the Supreme Court gave. I think that should be more functional now.
So from your experience in being in the field, you think the army is ready to have women lead, women combat commanders?
Yeah, they are starting training this year. They will be starting training in next 2 months, and they undergo training of 4 years. And I'm sure when the standards of men and women are not different at the training level, so obviously they will not be different at the operational level too. I think I have actually worked with many women officers who are not into combat, but I have found them very efficient. And in fact, I'll go one step ahead. In some places, I have found women officers more efficient, even gentlemen officers. So they have been doing a great job in army. And now coming to the combat, I think they are threatening us by giving us a tough competition. So we are worried about that.
Okay, my last question to you. What kind of training would be given to the lower personnel so that they accept women as their combat leaders?
Ma'am, it is like what happens in army, that time plays a very important role. Like if you permit, ma'am, I'll give my example itself. When I joined the unit, 1 year I was staying with my troops and I did all the important responsibilities, duty like what Sipahi does, Havaldar does, Nayak does, and then I was called to the officers mess. 1 year I was staying with the troops only. Once women start interacting close with those men, once they start doing training with them, once they start doing firing and military activity with them, they will automatically accept the fact that they're very much a part of our society, very much a part of our army. And women who are going to get selected, they are definitely going to be of those standards that they're going to, fight shoulder to shoulder with those men and prove their mettle that they are as good as what men are.
Okay. And what about the privacy concerns and little bit of extra setup which needs to be provided for women? Do you think army is ready in that regard?
This issue is being faced by the armies all over the world, and even Indian army can take care of this sort of normal logistics requirement as far as women officers are concerned. We have got that much of resources.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, Colonel Amol, right? Amol, you are a graduate person from Ferguson College?
Yes, sir.
Right. Probably Tilak was the person who was associated with this college?
Yes, sir.
One of the founders?
He was one of the founders. He was the founder of Deccan Education Society, and Deccan Education Society founded the Ferguson College, sir.
Right. Any Prime Minister which was alumni of this college?
So I think P.V. Narasimha Rao and Mr. V.P. Singh.
Right. P.V. Narasimha Rao is, being given the credit for starting LPG reforms. And the kind of the word which we are here, it is said that you can say the deglobalization process has started. What is your take on this?
So I'll request you can repeat the
deglobalization.
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 Yes.
I think our activities like Atmanirbhar Bharat, in some extent, may mean about deglobalization, but we need to be a bit self-centered as a country in this context, because even if we are going for deglobalization, we are trying to include some aspects like increasing the economic might of our country. We are trying to work onto the concept like giving opportunity to our MSMEs and overall looking inward so that the development of our country takes place. So I think that should be okay.
I understand. So let me, put some views before you so that, you could observe it and respond it back to me. The process of the globalization is a process of the interactions, and moving the people, currency, labor, technology, cultures around the world. So that is like the interdependence, get increased. In a word, which we could, say like, deglobalize our Atmanirbhar country, or, America first, or India first, or China first. Don't you think so? This kind of the environment in the globe per se would create, possibilities for more and more conflict. You are an army. So how do you think, this phenomenon?
So I think we need to look from the perspective of our priorities. As of now, our priority should be, reducing hunger, reducing poverty, providing unemployment. Once these priorities are taken care of, we are definitely open to the idea of increasing our symptoms as more globalized power, sir. And it has been done by almost all developed countries. Like if we see Japan, it has initially made its own infrastructure very strong, made it like the basic human indicators, they have improved, and then they have started looking outside. I think we are in the phase of a developing country. We should work more internally so that we can concentrate as far as the welfare of people is concerned, and definitely simultaneously we are definitely looking at the global aspect also.
Do you want to revisit, the timings of the starting of LPG policies in 1991 with the same set of arguments that you have just given?
So before 1991, things were very strict. There was something in the phase what we call license Raj. I am not talking about license Raj as such. I am talking about limited opening of our economy, which we are already doing. But definitely priority should be human development index and welfare of the people.
If we do, look it into, the World Freedom Press Index, India's ranking is not, that could be, celebrate. What do you think, like, what India could have, done, more, in this regard, so that like our, the position could have been elevated and we could, feel proud of that. So first, this is like, it is said that, the low income countries are generally, you can say the victim of like, suppressing, the voices of the people. Yes. You know that. What are those constraints, of these kind of the countries? What do you think?
So I think we are a unique country in itself. That the World Freedom Index, what report was given by American think tank, sir, it actually takes into consideration, internet shut, which was there in JNK for a very long time. That was the biggest criteria on which it was decided. But in our context, when a country like India, which faces many challenges, it may be JNK, it may be Northeast, it may be the Naxalite affected area, it may be protest. Like many places, the Article 144 of CRPC is applied and we shut down the internet. So in these cases, I think we are trying to keep the security of the country intact. What challenges we face, we are responsible for it, and we should take all necessary steps, even to the extent if an international agency claims that we have less of a freedom, sir. But till the time it assures our security and peace in our country, I think that should be okay with
Amol, the reports have, they have suggested that the longest period of the internet shutdown in Valley recently, it has really, caused economic, slowdown, or you can say disappearance of the jobs. What do you think? Was that, viable option?
Sir, like being in Valley for 3 years, I can, on my experience, tell like, yes, the internet shutdown went for a very long time, sir. But that was definitely, it is not that the country, like someone sitting in Delhi decides that the internet shutdown should go down, sir.
And that also, caused, impact of like, disseminations of the information from the real ground. So journalists, they were, facing the problems.
Sir.
2G working, even that was also not working. You might have heard of it.
Yes.
Yes, please.
So it was unanimous decision taken by all the agencies. That includes the civil administration, the police, the army, so that all these illegal activities or maybe anti-national activities which were happening after abolition of Article 370, that was only with the intention of the same thing. So it was not done with the intention of, troubling anyone or punishing anyone. Definitely till certain extent, it must have caused hardship to the people, but it has come at a, place where I personally feel it was warranted.
All right. Amol, can you summarize, the India's foreign policy towards Myanmar? If we, since 1991, it was like, number of the times military coup happened, and India has taken, the various, versions of the stands over the issues. Recently, how India perceives the Myanmar crisis, when we also see that India's Act East policy is at the stake when the Chinese influence, could be there.
So India's policy as far Myanmar is concerned is very unique. India actually always enjoyed a very good relationship when the military power has been there in Myanmar, so that is General Haig now. And as far as Mrs. Aung San Suu Kyi is concerned, in her context, generally there were many clashes on different issues. So that is a uniqueness. But India has always stood by Myanmar as far as the international affairs is concerned. In April 2000, like this year, April, we had the BIMSTEC happen in Sri Lanka, sir. And India was the biggest supporter to get Myanmar to be a part of it. Many countries have said that Myanmar having a military rule should not be allowed to become a part of it as of now, sir. So I think our relationship with Myanmar are based on mutual trust and assimilation.
Last one from my side, Amol. Sometimes I get confused, with the set of the terms that we call the insurgency, that we call the rebellion, and that we call, the revolution. Can you explain it, for me in one line?
So insurgency is against, like when an individual does not believe in the form of government which is or existing over there. So we can call it insurgency, sir. As far as rebellion is concerned, it may be people from that own area or maybe armed forces of that own area revolting against the established government can be called a rebellion, sir.
Rebellion, yeah.
Yes.
And there is a revolution also.
Revolution is a mass movement by people to throw away a system and to establish a new system.
All right, sir.
Amol, When we look at the bureaucratic setup of the defense personnel, we find that at the apex level, there is a non-defense person who is heading the department.
Sir,
Why this dichotomy is there?
sir, I was not able to get your question. I'll request you can repeat, sir.
Ministry of Defense
Sir.
is headed by a civilian, that is an IAS, Indian Administrative
Sir.
Service officer, whereas it looks after the activities of defense, various departments falling under the Ministry of Defense. Why should it not be headed by defense personnel?
So we are a very strong democracy, and we always believed that army should have its own role, which is limited to national security. During peacetime, we expect army to prepare for the war, and during wartime, we expect army to fight the war, sir. And army cannot be like, army is not like what we have got in Pakistan, where the army plays a very important role, sir. So I believe that being a bureaucrat as a top and also a politician who is the defense minister is very good for a democratic country like India. And army as an organization itself believes in the concept that it should be led by politicians, sir.
Okay, one last question before we let you go. Do you think experience has more powers than academic knowledge?
So I think it has to be balanced, sir. There are some jobs where experience will play a very important role, but there are some jobs where you need to have the basic academic qualification which can make you that job sustainable, sir. So I think in an individual who is holding a important responsibility, there should be a combination of both.
Okay, thank you very much, Amol. Your interview is
so
over.
much,
You may go. So, how was your experience?
So I talk fast, that has been observed by many people, sir. So I need to control the speed at which I am talking, sir.
But can you manage?
So I am trying, but I don't have much of time. My interview schedule day after tomorrow.
Is day after only.
Yes, sir.
I think you be your natural self.
Sir.
That is what is important. If you try to improvise your style, that may cause more harm than helping you.
Yes, sir.
So be your natural self. You yourself has mentioned the qualities of a civil servant. That has to have an impeccable integrity. Integrity, both intellectual, ethical, and moral integrity, and should have the patience to listen to questions and then react, isn't it? And should have very positive body language. Should be non-argumentative. That should not get into argument unnecessarily, and then should have some constructive thoughts, unique ideas. The way you express, the way you interact. So, based on all these parameters, your total overall performance has been excellent. You're a very confident person. You knew what you were talking about. So, we would not suggest you unnecessarily to improve this area or that area. Our only thing is that you should maintain your natural self.
Yes, sir.
If here also feeling was that you speak fast. But we think that that is an individual's way of style of talking.
Yes, sir.
And a part of your personality. And unnecessarily changing that personality will not help you much. You are an excellent candidate otherwise for the civil services. Interview part, you will be getting very good marks, no doubt about it. It all depends how you have fared in the written examination.
Yes, sir.
Is there any quota for